kind of revisits this format, and we can talk about what worked, what didn't work, and what we might want to try for our next meeting, either the same thing or something different. I know that we're going to have hiccups. I appreciate everyone's patience. This is kind of a new world, but we can certainly shift gears and try a Zoom meeting, or try WebEx, or try an old-fashioned conference call next time if need be. But let's give this a shot, and at the end of the meeting we can revisit. But in the meantime, we'll call the meeting to order. I don't know. Do we want to say the Pledge of Allegiance, or do we want to skip that?
Come on, we're all grown-ups here. We all took an oath. Let's let Prue take attendance, and let's move on. God.
All right, like Jack. Sounds good. So
I'd like to move on.
So I'm going to take a roll call. I'll just run down the list. So obviously I'm on. Hal is not on yet, but he said he will be joining late. I've got Jack. I've got Rod. I've got Don. Is Kim Marshall on?
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Kim. And is Chris Kokitis on? Not yet. Okay. So that's open. Tamara, are you on? Not yet. Okay. Lou, we know is absent. Jeff, I know is on. Frank, are you on? Okay. Matt, are you expecting Chuck?
No.
Okay. Sounds good. We know Matt's on. We know Dean's on. We know Bob's on. Is Aris planning on joining? Does anyone know? Probably not. Okay. That's fine. Is Max from Werner on? Okay, no on that one. Corinne, I've got you. Anthony, I've got you. Is anyone else?
Jeff. How about Jeff?
Yep, I got Jeff. Thank you. Have I missed anybody? Anyone else? All right, so that's the attendance.
Hey, Greg, it's Keith Barry.
Oh, great. Keith is, for everyone's benefit, Keith Varian took over as the chairman of the Golf Commission for Ryan Scully. So he's invited to attend our meetings, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So hopping right into it, Prue sent the minutes from our last meeting. I've reviewed them. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me. Did anyone have any comments or corrections on the minutes from March 10th?
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written. Second.
Who's that? Who's
Who
second?
was the second?
Me, Jack Swain.
Okay, thank you.
Jack. Okay, so Rod, any other comments before we take a vote? Not hearing any. I'm just going to assume all are in favor unless someone tells me that they are opposed. Any abstentions? All right, perfect. So that's that. If we get into any contentious votes, I'll take a roll call. We'll do a vote by roll call, but otherwise I'll assume a yes unless someone tells me a no or an abstention. Communications, obviously, I think all of us have gotten communications from the town regarding the virus situation. I did not receive any specific communication about the project, so we can move right into the owner's rep section. Matt, do you want to take over and take us through your owner's rep section?
Sure, yeah. Might as well start with the project invoices on the agenda. So you should have all received the invoice packet in the Dropbox folder that I distributed. Excuse me, this month's or this building committee's invoice packet includes 2 invoices from Special Testing Lab, which is our material testing agency, Anchor Engineering, who is our stormwater monitoring company, Collier's Kerma, who has the builder's risk insurance for the project, and then Silver Petrocelli, and that's for a total of $47,671.89. Are there any questions on any of those?
This is Jack Swain. Is the CIRMA premium, is that a one-time thing or for the year? Or what is that?
It's for 12 months.
Okay. Thank you.
When does that start, Matt?
It started at the beginning of the construction.
which was?
I believe it was end of November, last week in November, somewhere between like the 25th and the 30th. I'd have to check the exact date on the.
So it would theoretically cover the whole job.
It should.
Right. All of these are line items in the budget, expected expenditures.
Correct.
Okay.
With the except CREMA or whatever it is, the
Term is a
insurance
little higher.
is higher than what was budgeted.
Yeah,
I think
so we had
It was original.
No, you go ahead, Matt.
It was originally budgeted at $22,000 based upon an original quote, and the value when we were billed was $26,355, so about $4,400 over.
I make a motion to accept the invoices presented by Colliers, dated 3/24/20, for the amount of $47,671.89.
I'll second it.
All right, so Rod with the motion and Kim with the second. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or discussion on these invoices? Not hearing any. I'll assume that we will vote to approve unless I hear otherwise. So are there any votes for no, to not approve? Are there any voters to abstain? All right, so unanimous. Thank you. All right, so Matt, logistically, I'm going to have to print this, sign it, scan it, send it to Hal for his signature. He'll print it, sign it, scan it, and then return it. Right?
Yeah. And I can, it's probably easiest if I'll then sign it, but if you want to do it first and then do Hal and then send it to me, then I can do the last signature and send it on to Corinne.
If you guys all just want to sign your own, I can just file 3 of them. No big deal. I'll just note on there that it was a conference call. Don't go nuts. Because it's in the minutes anyways.
Okay. Well, thank you, Corinne. That definitely helps.
Yeah, don't drive yourself crazy.
All right, perfect. So I'll sign it and email it to you. Matt, you can do the same, and we'll ask. Well, since Hal was not here for this.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here?
I got here. Yeah, I just got here.
Gotcha. Well,
So
we just
wanna
voted
let you
to
know that I'm
approve
on
the
the phone.
invoices.
I heard the end of it, so I'm here on the phone.
All right. So, do you want to plan to sign these since the committee approved it, the invoices?
Yeah, I'll sign the copy and I'll email my scanned copy to Corinne.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. All right. So moving on, Matt. What's next?
Sure. So next is budget update. So you all should have received the financial summary that we typically look at in the packet as well. For anybody that joined via Skype, I have it up on the screen. But at the moment, other than the KERMA that we just talked about associated with the invoice packet and builder's risk insurance, we're still tracking in the same place. Everything's on budget to date. Obviously, also we're tracking with the construction subcommittee the contingency log, and you can see that right now we're holding $267,600 in that. Are there any specific questions on the financial summary status report before we get to current change orders to be presented?
Just Jack explained. So line B1, owner's insurance, that's showing a negative $4,400. Is that what that is? Or okay,
Correct.
that's for what we did today, right? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions, then we can move on to the change orders. Tonight we can start with change order number 2. If you recall, we've discussed this one in the past. This is associated with cart barn rock removal and foundation revisions when they were excavating for the addition to the cart barn. If you recall, this was originally 2 combined pieces of scope, both for complex construction, which was the concrete and foundation aspect of it, and then there was also the work for Grosso, that was the site work. And during the last building committee meeting, we discussed separating that out. So change order number 2 has been revised to only show the site work Grosso version of this, of which there's daily tickets attached to it. And we've reviewed this and feel that it's appropriate, and they have the right backup for it.
Hey, Matt?
I'm sorry, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But Grosso, the $8,385 is still showing up in there as cost.
Yes. This is only the Grosso.
This is only the Grosso. Okay, all right.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
The complex, no, not a problem. The complex construction will be, I believe it's change order number 8 or 10. I can't recall off the top of my head, but we still have not been provided with daily tickets or the correct backup, so that's not being presented yet. This is just the Grosso portion of it.
My bad.
And just to be clear, these numbers, Matt, are the same as they were at our last meeting, except for the fact that complex was pulled out, correct? This is the stuff that we didn't have an issue with. It was really the complex component. By splitting this out, it allows us to move forward to pay this without having to also pay complex while that's under dispute. Is that the plan?
That is correct.
Okay.
Matt,
This value is $11,635.57. Go ahead.
Matt, there's a note here that they're going to require an extra 10 days on the project because of this. Is that really justified?
Yeah, they spent some time on this, definitely.
So aren't they working at the same time? No, aren't they working on the clubhouse at the same time?
This was very early on. It did extend what they were working on and required extra additional time and days to get to do this work. There was also a little bit of a holding pattern as the geotechnical engineer came out, reviewed the uncovered conditions, and created new details and guidance for for Warner and their subcontractors to do the work appropriately for the foundation of the cart barn.
It's 2, right? It's 2 work weeks.
I'm sorry?
I said you're adding 2 work weeks to the project with this change order, right?
Yes, which is also already all represented in the project that they continue to update.
Okay. When does it
Matt?
This is 10 days in the past, though, right? This is already done.
This is already done, correct. This is all
right.
Done.
So the 10 days is already behind us.
No, because the completion
it still adds to the end, project schedule at the end.
Matt, do the tickets reflect 10 days?
The tickets themselves don't all reflect 10 days. There is probably 3.5 days worth of work within the tickets, but there were other days associated with this work where they were in a holding pattern, not being able to continue on that foundation, as I said, during the design period, as well as the work that we'll see with the concrete portion of it.
And that's documented?
So I would expect that we would not see any Werner time nor additional days in the complex portion of the contract, the change order.
And this is going to be deleted from the the general conditions at the end, correct? It will not be reflected in that number?
I'm not quite following what you're asking.
Well,
but,
when we get closer to the end of the project and they come back at us for additional general conditions for delays.
So, hey, Rod, can I chime in on that? I think,
yeah, go ahead.
To Jack's point, it didn't, in my opinion, affect the finished state of the clubhouse. It did affect the finished state of the cart barn, which is okay because we've always said that's being later than the original schedule. So I think we can agree to that it had a 10-day impact on the cart barn completion, but we would not agree to any extension on the overall project. Because it kept working on the clubhouse.
at this time, you have to remember that these are the same people that are digging the foundation and doing that work for the car barn that would be doing it on the clubhouse.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's a different crew. That's a guy with a hoe ram versus a guy with an excavator digging parking lots. They probably didn't even have a crew of site work.
I mean, this is Jack Flanagan. Not for anything, but they're asking for 8 hours for superintendent, which is a day, and a half hour for the other guy, which is a half and 4 hours, which is a half a day, and they want 10 days in. And they're not going to, and to Don's point, they're not going to add this to the cart barn completion because it's all one project. They're going to add this at 10 days at the end. I mean, I don't get this. I mean, you know.
Can we approve this conditionally that we take exception to 10 days being added at the end of the project? That's how
I don't think it's really worth doing it, but if you guys want to push back on that 10 days, then we can certainly do that. I think there was certainly an unforeseen condition that was exposed that impacted the schedule and the work that needed to be done. I think that it's a reasonable request and is accurate to the work that they did and the time that it took.
Hey, Matt, it's Craig. Let me ask you a follow-up question. The 10 days here that they're specifying, I don't recall that on the change order, specified on the change order from 2 weeks ago. I don't have for me, so I can't say with certainty, but is this a new ad, or is this something that we should have talked about last time?
No, I believe this was a new ad because it had been requested at the last building committee when we did review this that any additional days that it did take should be noted on all change orders. So I believe this was added on here because of that.
This is Jack Flanagan. Doesn't the contract require them to ask for extra days on any change order?
Absolutely. That's why it's on here.
The first time we're seeing this, 10 days?
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is,
Well, I guess Jack didn't get the memo, Craig.
About what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All right, with all of this in mind, I think Werner did do what we asked them on a couple of points. One, we asked them to pull out the complex engineering component because we clearly had a dispute on that amount. I think when we discussed this last time, the other components of the change order were not necessarily in dispute. I think we questioned whether the superintendent's hours were accurate. Hey guys,
I'll come right down in a minute.
I'm going to be skeetering outside.
You're not.
I'm really good.
Can I ask you to go on mute? We're getting a lot of background. So what I was saying was and then we did ask that future change orders include a notation in terms of time delay. So that's new, as Matt pointed out, but it is at our request, and they're complying with that request. So I'm fine if we move forward to approve this. I'm fine if someone wants to make a motion to approve with exception to the timing. You guys, at this point, I think we should just take action and move on.
I have one more question, sorry.
Yeah.
Did we get certified payroll with this? Has this been verified with certified payroll?
Yeah, their rates are accurate.
Okay.
This is Don. I would approve it with exception to the 10-day extension for discussion, for further discussion. I don't believe it.
I second Tom's motion and amendment if it's all one of the things.
I'm sorry,
I mean,
Don,
we're
can
doing
you?
a documentation days, right? On their tickets?
Right. We haven't seen it. Have we seen the tickets? I don't know.
Yeah, they're included in the package.
Can you repeat the motion, please?
The motion, all right. The motion would be to approve change order 2 with the exception of not allowing 10 extra days.
Okay.
We're not agreeing to?
Not agreeing to 10 extra days, sure.
Thank you.
And Jack, it's your second, right?
Correct.
All right. Any other discussion
I don't,
at this point?
Yeah, I don't understand what it means. I mean, the 10 days are already come and gone, so...
What it means
How
now
do we
is
question
to charge us for 10 days of extra project team time at the end. So,
Who will?
Werner. They'll charge us for 80 hours of a project manager, 80 hours of a superintendent, 80 hours of a clerk, a secretary, a home, it can just be bags of money at the end.
I understand that. but
Office
isn't
space,
that-
electricity, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, but we just agreed that it was only 10 days on the cart bar, not 10 days on the entire project.
No,
Right, but
no, Hal. We just
That's
said
the
that.
dispute.
Werner's not saying that. Werner wants 10 days general conditions at the end of this because of this change order.
So therefore, what I'm saying then is the change. Then the motion has to be specific to what we're asking about. We just can't put a condition in there without a condition. So that condition then would be that the 10 days is on the cart bar, not on the entire project. That would be the way the amendment would be written then, correct?
No, because the general conditions only apply to the total project. So what we are disputing, if I understand Don's motion, we are in dispute over whether this is 10 days added to the project, and it's subject to discussion and negotiation. But we are willing to pay the $11,600 and move on.
Okay, so as I understand this now, we're gonna pay the change order, but we're gonna further discuss the total of 10 days. It may end up as 3 days on the back end, but that's still to be negotiated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, now I get it. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions or comments about the motion on the table? Not hearing any. I'll call a vote. What do you think? Roll call on this one?
I think you should do roll call on all of them.
All right. Well, the minutes and stuff, that was fairly easy. I'm not doing roll call on a motion to adjourn, though. I'm telling you that right now.
What do you got?
Get the gag, so it doesn't matter.
Good. All right. So just going down the list here, I'll start with Rod.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Don.
In favor.
Okay. Kim.
In favor.
Okay. Chris, did you join by chance? No. Tamara? No. All right. Jeff?
In favor.
As amended, I'm in favor, yes.
Yeah. Frank? Still missing. Okay. So back to the top. Hal?
Yes.
All right. And Jack, you said as amended, you're in favor. Okay. And I vote in support as well. So that's unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So just for my understanding, Matt, so this is an approval of the change order therefore now it will be included in the pay app at the next time a pay app is submitted, right? Okay. All right.
What's my question about the funds for this? These were already encumbered in the contingency. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. Any other change orders to discuss, Matt?
Yeah, so one thing I will say just generally is I did request that Max join today, especially since it was a call-in, so it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to join. I'm sure he would be able to speak a little bit more specifically about these. It would certainly be helpful, and I've asked him anytime a change order or anything associated with Werner's request that he attend at least via call if we're attending in person any building committee meetings for moving forward. So hopefully we can have him at the next one and he can speak to some of these questions. The next one.
I just have one. Matt, can I have one question? Not on this, but in general. Does Werner know exactly what this committee is expecting of invoices and change orders moving forward? So we don't have to go through this again and again and again. Are they perfectly clear?
I think I've been pretty clear in what you guys are requesting.
It's not what we're requesting. It's what's in the contract.
Well, yes, and I've been pretty clear about that with them, so they should be providing that information. And from what we talked about at the construction subcommittee, that we've gotten several other change orders that we've returned to them, with comments based upon what they need to actually provide before it even gets presented to the building committee. So, we're certainly acting on that.
Yeah, and Rod, I'll echo that in support of Matt and Collier's efforts here. I've attended most of the Thursday morning OAC meetings, and Matt has repeatedly stressed the points that you just made in terms of the need for detail. And I've supported Matt in those discussions as well, making it clear that while I may not have the industry background that many on the committee have, I've made it clear that many on this committee are in the business and have a very clear understanding about what should be expected, what is required to be delivered, and the message has been delivered. So hopefully they'll start following through.
This is not a criticism that was not a criticism of Collier's. I just want to make sure that they know exactly because this is ridiculous. This is how many months? This is change order 2. This is back in the beginning of the project, and we're waiting for this stuff.
Hey, Ron, can I just leave change order 2 at this, that Werner provided tickets for backup in this one, which is good. Then after the fact, they provided a contract extension line, which is what we wanted to know. The contract extension is not justified, and the tickets, Matt, you might take this back to them. If you look at them for the site crew, it's no more than a day or 2 of tickets. So if they're saying that site crew extended 10 days, the math doesn't work. We could just leave it at that. But the basic requirement is signed tickets, certified payroll, contract extension notification, and then a breakdown, and we can start evaluating change orders once.
Perfect. I don't disagree.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. What's next, Matt?
There's one other change order. This was added yesterday afternoon, and it was added. They had Werner has provided a revised change order for I think it was change order number 5 last time, which was associated with the scoreboard work. And there were 2 different sort of areas of scope, I'll call it, one of which was to bring conduit from the clubhouse to the cart barn for future data installation. And the second aspect was the actual fabrication and installation of a scoreboard. We asked them to separate those two out. They provided a separated out version to which I commented back on and provided a quick sketch because I felt that they were not following the correct scope that had been outlined to them. And this was the revised change order that they provided just earlier yesterday for the conduit related work. So this is change order number 7. It's for the amount of $3,981.10. And this is somewhat time sensitive, obviously, as we're trying to wrap up work in the cart barn area. So this would allow them to trench that work and put the conduit in and pull strings for future installation. You'll see that there is backup from the electrical as well as labor and unit pricing from Grosso. I've reviewed this and feel that it's reasonable for what they're looking to do.
Can you scroll to the bottom of that first page? Just the first page. No, sorry, first page.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm assuming by the lack of information here that there is no extension of time.
That's the assumption I would make as well.
Jack Slane here. Was there no trench originally planned between the clubhouse and cart barn? Was this a new trench we had to dig in order to lay conduit?
For this conduit, yes.
Yeah, show that picture, Matt, if you don't mind. The plan, be sure.
So this is an additional conduit run 2 inches from essentially where the locker room is on the side of the clubhouse. That will go, so there will be a trench between that corner of the clubhouse and the closest corner of the cart barn. And then they'll be running conduit within the exterior wall up to above the ceiling in both buildings. And then also they'll be running from above the ceiling to the location of where the exterior terminal box for the future installation of data and power would be to above the ceiling so that line can be pulled when the installation is ready.
I see the line on the plan. I just was curious if there was no other trench. We were going to run no other trenches between the clubhouse and the cart barn. Really? I mean, if that's true, that's fine. I just was curious. I was surprised.
Yeah, Dean here. There was no trench. There was no trench between the cart barn and the clubhouse. Only this request required the trench.
Okay. There you go.
I make a motion to approve it. Don.
Second.
I have a question. The billing rates that are on these, this is a small change order, but we talked last week about the billing rate. Are we supposed to get a reasonable level of detail on the rates?
They're providing the rates there, the estimated. You're talking about Grosso or both?
Like A and B?
We've looked at them again. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, these are, we talked about, detailed breakdown billing rates. These guys are having more round for than normal detailed labor, with print, all that kind of stuff, that kind of breakdown. We've got like 978, 56, 130, 110. These are just kind of rough numbers. What happened getting a detailed breakdown?
We've certainly asked for it. I assume that they're working per our request to give us those more detailed rates for each of the contractors that we've asked for.
Yeah, I see it in this change order number 7.
These are union electricians, right, Matt?
Yes.
And compared to prevailing rates, the prevailing wages, that I thought we weren't in too much disagreement on the basic rates, but to Kim's point, in parallel, we still want a breakdown so that when we get to change orders and they look for double time, they're not double dipping on benefits and all that other stuff we beat to death a few times. So we still want breakdowns in parallel for the trades, to Kim's point.
So let me ask you a question, though, because if I look at the detail that they have provided, this is for, I'm seeing an electrical mechanic, 6 hours, rate of $120 an hour, total $720, and then electrical apprentice, 6 hours, rate $110 an hour for a total of $660. Are we looking for more detail than that? Help me understand what the gap is.
Kim is looking for further detailed breakdown of basically what the prevailing wages, what the fringe benefits are, and the other pieces that make up their paycheck.
Because we're allowing a certain level of markup, and we have no idea what their markup is. For example, I'm looking at the prevailing wage rates for electricians, and it looks to be about $77 wages and fringes, but they're billing at like $120, and it's just a really basic part of change orders. So, providing the backup.
Yeah, and they're charging us only $10 less for an apprentice as for a electrical mechanic, which seems just on its face out of whack.
Right, and there are quite a few levels. So,
Okay, well, we can push back on this. Like I said, I just got this yesterday, looked at it briefly, and, I wanted to bring it forth because it was somewhat time sensitive, but absolutely we can push back for the detail.
The one concern that I have, though, everyone, is that, as Matt indicated, this is time sensitive, and we're trying to get this work done in conjunction with having the cart barn completed, more timely. I respect the desire and need for more detail. I agree with it. I just wonder if this is one of those circumstances, given that the bill is less than $4,000, that we move forward with approving this change order, but again, add some conditions or at least some notice to Werner that our expectation for future bills that are either for subsequent change orders that are either in the future or for bigger dollars, that we're going to be less sensitive to the time constraints. I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's a path.
I would agree. I would agree. I think we should approve this because, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to change much, even if the rate went down. But we should absolutely keep asking. We want rate breakdowns for all trades.
This goes back to what I was talking about on change order number 2, and asking. This is change order number 7, and we're still getting stuff that's not acceptable to the committee. I know it's only $3,000, but still, moving forward, we're on change order number 7.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm in favor of approving it, but man, something's got to be done about these guys. Because we're spinning our wheels.
We can just continue to not move forward with change orders.
but it's going to affect work.
Absolutely.
And to the detriment of the schedule overall. So that's the catch-22. I'm happy to call Max directly one-on-one and just reiterate the point that Matt's already made, but we can just keep asking. So we do have a motion on the table. I think, Don, you made the motion. Rod, you made the second to approve. We had some discussion about it. Happy to take an amendment if we want to amend the motion, or otherwise we can call a vote.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second, please?
Sure.
I want to make sure, this is change order number 3 or change order number 7?
Number 7.
Okay.
We just went from number 2 to number 7.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, and 6 were no actions.
Okay.
So not hearing any further discussion about amendments, why don't we call a vote? So I'll go right down the list again. Rod?
Affirmative. Yes.
Don?
I don't see affirmative yes in your comment.
Sorry. Don? Don, I'll skip Don. Kim?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, I assume, is out. Tamara out. Lou's out. Jeff?
No.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Frank is not here. Back to the top. Hal?
Yes.
Are you there? Yes. All right.
I am.
Jack?
No.
No. Okay. And I am a yes. I'll go back to Don. Don, did you have a vote on this matter, considering it was your motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the motion passes 6-1.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So that was it on change orders, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. I added this next item to our agenda at our last meeting. I think it's something that we should continue to have, but I think it's valuable. Just, Matt, can you give an update on what the 2-week look ahead looks like?
You're catching me off guard a little bit here.
Come on, it was on the agenda.
Right now they're pouring foundations, finishing pouring foundations at the clubhouse. They're going to be digging footings at the clubhouse. They've also started some of the siding, or plan to start some of the siding on the rear of the cart barn. They are also moving forward with, just earlier this week, they were finishing up running the electrical primaries and secondaries to the cart barn. They're also working diligently on finishing out steel designs to get that moving. It's kind of what I have off the top of my head at the moment. But they are certainly moving forward at a very quick speed. Also within the next 2 weeks, they're going to be trying to start earnest in the parking lot. They're also going to be trying to wrap up the rough ends at the cart barn, and they're currently working on the electrical distribution within the cart barn for all the charger plugins.
I have a question for Dean. Dean, I was at the site on Sunday, snooping around. All the electrical conduit running the length of the cart barn, is that supposed to be in a tray?
It's not conduit. It's BX above the bottom cord of the trusses, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is not supposed to be in a tray. It is installed the way we have intended it.
Okay, all right. I've just always seen it in a tray.
Nope, it was not specified to be in a tray. It was specified to be on the top of the bottom cord as it is.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Matt, you kind of touched on it, but I think it's probably it dovetails into the next item on the agenda, and that is the parking lot. There's still a lot of stockpile stuff in the parking lot. I imagine that that's got to be moved relatively quickly. I think they said that they were waiting to use some of that as backfill and infill once the foundations were poured. But ultimately, do we know definitively when Werner will be in a position to turn over the parking lot to DPW? Obviously, we've got to discuss what that grading work looks like, and the costs associated with it. But do we at least have a date on that?
I mean, like you said, there's a couple of moving parts. But the last we discussed with Werner, basically they should be ready for DPW or their paving contractor to come in the middle of April.
Okay,
that's what we've been told.
And we've been told also that that Brian Carey from DPW wants to wait for TILCON, which puts it to mid-April before asphalt is available, and then they also want to wait until a couple 3 batches have come out of the asphalt plant for quality control assurance. So that puts that binder course activity in the last week in April, I would say. I think as long as we don't lose sight of that timeline, we can debate or discuss what the base is going to look like, but I think we have to be careful not to let this time slip away from us.
Yeah, I think the big piece with respect to going down the right, selection of option 1, option 2 for what the base material is for the parking lot is that if we're going down the path of option 2, which is 2 inches, DPW would be providing 2 inches of supplemental material, then obviously they would need to provide that and deliver it on site prior to Werner starting to prep the parking lot so that they can do the work all together. So there's a little bit of coordination and sequencing there. And obviously if Werner's aiming to be done and ready for TILCON or the town's contractor to come out and do that work, then we need to make sure that we give DPW enough time to deliver that material and Werner to get their work done. They were tentatively scheduled just in case we were ready tonight, and the committee elected to move forward with option 2 tonight. DPW was tentatively planning to deliver that material on Friday. So given that we do not have revised pricing from Werner for those 2 options to review tonight, then I'll call DPW and make sure that they're informed that they should not be delivering on Friday. And as we move forward, we'll continue to coordinate with them to make sure that we get the material out there as quickly as possible, if that's the direction.
And for the committee's benefit, Matt, I just want to make sure, I'm going to summarize this, and I'm going to let you correct me if I've got this, if I'm misunderstanding this, but based on the geotech engineering report, we feel like there's, if Grasso were to excavate a full 12 inches of material as originally called for, the bottom 6 inches are not of high enough quality to use. So that would have to be disposed of. Alternatively, the top 6 inches is of high enough quality, but there's a question about whether it's thick enough. So the options in front of us are and Grasso only takes the top 6 inches to pulverize and use as the base and move forward. That would be option 1. That would, in theory, result in a credit because Grasso is doing less work. That is not how Werner delivered their change order because they were going to charge us an extra $40,000 for doing less. So that scope of work has to be discussed with Werner. The second option would be to bring in additional 2 inches of material to create an 8-inch base, and that could be broken into 2 components. One, the work associated with doing the grading work with 8 inches or with 2 inches of additional material, but also the material itself. If I'm understanding it correctly, the current plan is for DPW to provide the material at no cost incurred by Grasso or passed along to the project, but there is an open question as to how much Grasso and ultimately Werner would be charging for that additional work effort. And that's the number that we're waiting on, correct?
Correct. As well as the option 1, which was just utilizing the 6 inches that are being reclaimed.
So we did touch on this at our last meeting, but I believe DPW has expressed the desire to deliver the extra materials and incorporate that into the base before the binder course goes on. But that does leave an open question, and it's a significant one, as to who would pay for the extra work effort that Werner and Grasso are going to charge associated with that extra material. And if it's a $40,000 bill, I just don't know how that moves forward. I think the discussion at our last meeting, if I recall correctly, was that we were not in a position to pick up a $40,000 bill associated. Even if DPW did provide the materials, the work effort costing $40,000 was just not something that we were in a position to move forward on. So I think it's imperative that we get a good number from Werner as soon as possible. It's disappointing that we don't have it to discuss tonight, but we're going to have to figure out what the right amount is and who's going to pay for it.
Hey, Craig, I think you explained that very well, and I have a suggestion. I think as a committee last time we said, yep, we'll approve option 1 because there was an estimate that it was a credit, and we couldn't afford option 2 that we heard was $40,000, which I think may still be the case. But in the essence of time, speaking with Eris a little bit, and maybe Dean can chime in, I would suggest being that we probably don't want to meet face-to-face too closely, but at least a conference call with Werner, whoever's doing the work, which I guess is Grasso, Eris, who is our technical estimator advisor, Silver Petroselli, if they want to sit in. Maybe you can get Brian Carey to join the conversation and go over options 1 and 2 so that just once everybody agrees on the scope. When Werner prices it, and Colliers, of course, Matt needs to be in on that, and go over the scope and go over the pricing, and then they can come back on an agreed scope of work that there won't be any questions back and forth, and explain to them that the project cannot afford $40,000. So we have a choice. Option 1, or if Brian Carey's in on the conversation, the town trying to supplement some money to be able to afford option 2 and nail down the scope, and then we can figure out pricing. And if we get a conference call in the next couple days, it's only Tuesday, DPW's waiting to deliver stuff by Friday, maybe as a follow-up to the OAC on Thursday, it's a scheduled conference call.
Or is it part of the OAC discussion on Thursday?
That's part of that, right? Because you got all that crew together.
I'm not opposed to that by any means. It's definitely been a topic of conversation at the very least at the last OAC, if not the last 2 OAC meetings. But as a means to expedite, we could certainly have a separate conference call, and that could be beneficial. I think the most beneficial part would be to make sure that Werner includes their subcontractor on that, to make sure that nothing's getting lost in the game of telephone.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. All right, so let's definitely, Matt, if you could try and coordinate setting up that call this week, whether it's Thursday, during or after. But I think it's absolutely key that we get the. I think Don, you did a great job of identifying all the key players, and Matt, I agree, Grasso has to be on that list. Let's make sure we all agree on the scope. Make sure that nothing's lost in translation, and let's see if we can get them to give us revised numbers almost real time. Okay. Great. Anything else that we need to discuss? Anthony, I don't know if you're still on the line, but if you are, maybe you can touch on anything that you can convey to the building committee in terms of what you understand or know from the town, and what your current time frame is for golf operations commencement.
Yeah, I'm still here, Craig. Thanks. So as of right now, based on the governor's executive order, golf operations will be shut down, I believe, in the state until April 30th, which gives us a little bit of time. It seems to be the same time frame we were going to be on with construction in the parking lot anyway. Everything you guys stated about DPW doing the parking lot and that time frame waiting for TILCON is, as far as I know, is still accurate. Other than that, I don't really, unfortunately, have much to add to it at this point.
Okay, so that's helpful, though. Maybe in a sense, the timing on the state's response to this virus crisis dovetails pretty well with our current timeline. So ideally, I think we were trying to take steps to move. Accelerate as much as possible and get as close to April 4th as we could for opening. Yep. But I think it would be really disappointing for me personally, and I think our committee should make sure that we do whatever we can to make sure that the golf operations is ready to open as soon as it's allowed by the state. And if April 30th is the date, then that's a revised date. So if we can get a certificate of occupancy around the 25th so that the pro shop has a few days to set up shop and make sure everything is working, and the parking lot is completed with the binder course that last week in April as well, I think that all kind of works. Agreed?
Anthony, it's Hal. I have a question for you.
Okay, Hal.
Now, the governor didn't put an end date on it, and golf courses are not on the statewide mandate because that's Brenda's mandate for the golf courses in the town. Prince Edward is still playing golf.
No, they're not. No. The Connecticut State Golf Association sent out a letter based on the governor's executive order. As of 8 p.m. Monday, March 23rd, they were shut down as well.
Okay, because I got
that email.
All right, only because I saw 3 golf courses that were open and operating today on the news.
Yeah, Whitney Farms is open too.
Right, this is what so
they very well could be getting fines if anybody reports them.
Okay, so this is definitely in the governor's mandate, because I didn't see an end date on his mandate. I know the university was looking at the 22nd or the 21st, 22nd to the 26th. They haven't finalized that. So right now, as far as you're concerned, the governor is not opening up the state to non-essential personnel until the 30th. Is that correct?
That's our understanding, and
that's all I need is your understanding.
Yeah,
it is. So at least that's our operation here, and obviously I'll keep my ear to the ground if I hear anything changing. But all right, because I didn't see the golf courses in the governor's, and like you said, I saw French Wheeler open on Saturday. And I know a couple of them were open today. So, cool. All right, thanks for the answer. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, So with that, anything else from you, Matt, before we move on?
No, I think we've hit pretty much everything.
Okay, great. Dean and or Bob, do you guys want to share anything from Silver Petroselli's perspective?
Just that they're making steady progress out there, and as soon as we can get this driveway thing resolved, we'll all be feeling a little bit better about this.
And Bob, I do know that you to date you've done a great job staying on top of these guys and helping to facilitate getting answers to questions when they have them. But help me understand, or help the committee understand, what your site visits might look like for the short term, whether they're remote and what a remote site visit might entail.
Well, I talked to Dean, probably at least 3 times. I'm sorry, not Dean. I talked to Gene on site, Werner, at least about 3 times a day. So we're in close communication, solving problems on the phone. Also, we can share photos with each other as we have done, or even video. So if there's a particular question or concern that Werner would like us to review on site, we can do that with today's technology, with video, photographs, and even FaceTiming, so it's as if we're there together. So I think it'll be uninterrupted. I'll still do field reports based on conversations going back from the field with Werner, and of course I'll be in communication with Matt as well. So I think you're going to have them be similar to what they are, maybe a few less pictures.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Any questions for Bob or Dean from Silver Petroselli?
And you guys saw the most. This is Dean. You guys saw the most recent field report number 12, right? In terms of the scope and the work that was done last week. You know, the vinyl siding is underway in terms of the cart barn. The soffit is all installed. You've got electricals going in. There's temporary doors. They're installing that retaining wall on the south elevation of the cart barn, and they're also installing the yard drains. And on the clubhouse, obviously, foundations are being poured. What little is left, all the backfilling is being done. A little bit of the fireplace forming and rebar is underway. So again, read those field reports that Bob produces, because they really do give you a good idea of what was done last week and surely what's coming up.
Very helpful. Thank you. And does everyone know where to get access to those field reports?
Field reports are included in the Dropbox. Yeah. So I will say that you will not see the 11 and 12 most recent, as those were just issued yesterday. So they weren't uploaded onto the Dropbox because that was issued on Friday.
This is Corinne. I have a question, actually. Has Warner expressed any concerns with this whole COVID-19 in terms of like lead time on materials? Or is everything as we know on time?
I had a conversation with Max about that late last week, and he has not heard any specific delays or anything at that point from any of his subcontractors. He said that he has heard of, just talking in the industry, that there have been potential supply chain issues in different areas, but he has not heard any specific to this project at that time. But it's a topic that we're going to continually check on every week.
Okay.
I had a similar conversation with Max, and he had said, from what he's hearing, it's offshore. Stuff is coming from out of the country, so he hasn't felt anything yet, and he's feeling pretty confident that things might keep going pretty smoothly. But I guess time will tell.
This is Dean, and I'll chime in. We have received letters from probably 80% of our other contractors on other projects, all probably mostly covering their butt, but the letter basically says that
they're not responsible for any delays incurred by the coronavirus. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get the letter from Werner, but at the moment we have not. But again, I have received a letter or similar letter from most of my other projects. So don't be surprised if we get it.
Hey, this is Don. I have just a comment related to schedule and deliveries and the whole bit. That last meeting we were chomping at the bit for a change order not to exceed $10,000 to authorize overtime. Has that gone by the wayside, given that we now think May 1st is our date for the court barn? Is Werner working any overtime as we speak?
To date, no overtime has been expended on the project.
Okay, so that urgency may have passed, or it may be coming down the road, but right now, it's not as urgent as it was last week, is what I understand.
Yeah, also, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, also reviewed yesterday with the construction subcommittee that exact question, as well as discussed the temporary measures. If you recall, we discussed that last meeting, and in reviewing the impacts, I'll say the positive impact on the schedule from those temporary measures, and against all of the other various schedule impacts from outside the project. So, for example, Anthony bringing up the golf course not going to be opening before April 30th, as well as DPW's paving timing, and then discussing that with Max and kind of reviewing the sequence of work. It seems as though, other than expediting the shipping for the exhaust fans, which is between $600 and $700, it doesn't seem prudent at the moment to move forward with utilizing temporary measures at the cart barn, as we would likely get close to coinciding with the schedule, with all of the other aspects of the schedule to open up the golf course. We're going to continue to track that, obviously, and if we see something that may need that or may warrant further discussion, then we'll bring that up.
All right, that's good.
Did I hit what you were going to say, Rob?
Pardon me?
You hit what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And so, Corinne, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for or from Silver?
All set here, Greg.
All right. Thanks, Dean.
I'm
Thanks,
set as
Tom.
well.
Thank you both.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Rod, do you want to provide any further color from your subcommittee? I know I don't believe Don or Kim were able to join you this week, but you can provide an update if you like.
Yeah. Well, we met on Monday and just went over basically what we went over earlier in the meeting. Just want to bring it to everybody's attention. We're 30% done with the project, and we're over 50% expended on our contingency. So we really have to monitor the finances. Keep a tight rein on it.
Yep,
That's really
agreed.
Agreed, Rob.
Okay.
Good point.
So, Keith Varian, are you still on the line?
I'm here.
All right. Well, again, welcome to the meeting. I hope it was insightful for you. But did you have any questions that you would like to ask of the committee, or do you have any detail that you want to share that Anthony may not have already discussed?
Thanks. No, I really just wanted to introduce myself to everybody. I don't plan to attend all the meetings, but I probably will attend some of these where we're talking about schedule. And this one was interesting because I did want to hear about any potential impact from COVID-19. I guess my only one question is, Do any of these things have any impact on the final completion date, or are we still looking at the same overall schedule?
According to Warner's most recent project schedule, the current substantial completion date is November 30th. As I said to the construction subcommittee, obviously that's roughly 10 weeks past what we had initially shot for, the middle of September. But at the moment, we're trying to push as much on this car burn as possible, and we'll, in the coming next couple weeks, we'll be transitioning to see what we can do about the schedule that Warner's put together for the clubhouse and the remainder of the project. So we'll have more updates on that progress, I would say, in the next couple building committee meetings.
Yeah, and Keith, I would add that when we were focused on the timeline for the cart barn completion, understanding that was paramount to the golf course opening for 2020, the initial project timeline after the permitting process was delayed, the original timeline, or revised timeline, I should say, from Warner added 8 to 10 weeks to the project, and we were able to peel that back pretty significantly. As an example, I think they had 19 days or something crazy for siding, and that
25.
should only take a handful. And so we fully expected that there's a lot of fluff in the timeline provided. So my guess would be, mid-October, Columbus Day weekend type time frame.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Anthony, anything else from the Parks and Rec side?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think we have anyone here from the RTM. Is there any public on the line? Ralph, did you happen to dial in? Not hearing any. All right, before we adjourn, I'd like to add to the agenda just a brief recap on the platform for these meetings going forward. Obviously, we're going to have some hiccups as we go. Some of us were able to get into Collier's Skype meeting and see the screen. Others were not. So my question to the group is, do we want to continue in this format, or do we want to try and pivot and try a different platform? One of the other alternatives available to us would be a plain old vanilla audio conference line, like absent the screen, and that would rely on everybody just receiving and printing the materials themselves. A third alternative would be to switch to a video conferencing platform like Zoom. I did look into that, and there is a cost associated with that, but it's minimal. It's roughly $15 a month. I think we could probably absorb $15 a month into our expenses and move on if we wanted to do a video conferencing. I personally don't need for my face to be on the screen, but that is the concept of a Zoom. Zoom also allows us to do screen sharing as well, so it would allow us to do both. But does anyone have any thoughts about whether this worked, whether it didn't work, whether we should try something different or keep it the same?
I think this works fine. Everybody that wanted to get on got on, whether it was through the app or through phone.
Hey, I think that works fine as long as people can get on it. And then you can mute as required. It worked great on my end.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I finally got on. What? And you had sent another link. What did you do that was different?
The one that worked was the second link I sent.
The last one you sent.
Yeah, that just said join Skype meeting.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, nothing different. I'm not sure how the link was created for the one on the agenda, but anytime I send out a Skype meeting invite, it's exactly what you had seen on the latest thing that I sent out, so what worked for you. So I'll just, I can distribute that in the email that I send with the Dropbox link
Yeah, that'd be good
for everybody.
Hey, Matt, is it the same one we use on Mondays?
No, they're all unique.
They're unique, okay. All right.
Yeah, Matt, this is Dean. The second link worked for me, too, and I went back and forth and tried the first link, and that didn't work. So there's something unique about the second link that you just sent.
Okay. I'll make sure to include that in the email I send out with the Dropbox.
Okay, and can I continue to just call in? I like that better.
Yeah, the call-in is available to you. The one thing that I will say, I should add, one of the requirements that comes out of these virtual meetings is that not only that it's not just recording the meetings, the audio for Prue's benefit as she goes through and translates these into minutes. The recording itself needs to be posted to the town website. And one of the benefits of switching to something like either Zoom or something like freeconferencecall.com is that we can get an audio recording and then that file just goes on. With Skype, the only way the audio can be recorded is if you follow the link and go through the internet as opposed to dialing in on a phone number. So if Matt were to record this session, anybody who was speaking from a landline or from a dial-in number would have been excluded from the audio. We would have had one-sided conversations. So that is one detriment to this path going forward. Prue, I think what you've done tonight is recorded the old-fashioned way.
I did.
With your recorder held up to the speaker of your phone. That may not be the clearest and cleanest audio, but it satisfies the requirement. So worst case scenario, or at least satisfying the requirement.
Yeah, I did it on my iPad.
And I can, I'll double check that yet again. I know I tested it a couple times earlier today with some people from my office and was unsuccessful. But it seems odd that you wouldn't be able to do that. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I'll just double check that it can be done.
Okay.
And
right.
Matt, I'm sorry. Do you mind? I didn't get the second email, so I don't know if I was on your list. But would you be able to send that to me as well next time?
Sure. This is Prue?
Yeah, because the first link didn't work for me either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then I think in terms of the public access to the meeting, we'll continue to share the link. I followed the link without incident, and I think Rod did as well, so I'm not sure what makes it different for different individuals, but I think at a minimum, so long as we give the public some way to access and we use the toll-free numbers for them, we're fine there too. Okay. Sounds like we have a plan forward. Anything else on anyone's mind on any topic? All right. Not hearing anything. Everyone, I appreciate everyone's patience through this transition. I think it was a relatively productive meeting. And I'll just give you a virtual cheers since we won't be meeting afterwards. So thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
From there.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.